new things to work on now, which should be fun. I have a couple of bits of old antique, I guess I would say, test equipment. A couple of RC bridges. That's RC as in the letter R, not RC as in RC, although if somebody's plugged them in, I can see that they probably might have the potential to be somewhat RC. Anyway, so I'll have a quick look over what I've got here, because I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet, which one I'm going to do first, what I'm going to do with them, stuff like that. So, first one, most intact of the two, is this Philips one. This is a Philips, it's a, where does it say what it is? Just here. It's a Philips Philoscope. Model is TA160. It's made in Australia, so that means it's good. And I don't know what else. So it's in, well, it's pretty filthy and it's a little knocked about and paint's a bit knackered and all, but otherwise it looks like it's in really nice condition. Got a couple of latches on the side here, they're suitcase style latches on either side. Guess it will have had a lid originally, which I do not have, but that's a better view. It is actually quite nice though. So I think of the two, this is probably the most, probably going to be the most easier of the two to work on, both in terms of, you know, what's inside and everything, you know, circuitry and stuff, given this is a commercially made thing, and in terms of the casing and everything as well in the front panel, because this isn't just like silk screened or painted, this is all of the printing on there, and the you know, edge here and everything on the dials, everything is all engraved. So even though the paint and everything's, you know, rusted and damaged, you know, I can just strip it off and just, like, I guess spray paint the thing, and then, you know, just go in with a bloody one of these things in all the little engraved parts and make it all white and brand new looking again. Same for the knobs. I know a lot of fucking knobs. Anyway, was a bit thingo, so yeah, this doesn't have as many features as the other one, which I'll get to in a minute. Looks like it's just got the range switch here. It just goes from, for checking on resistance, we've just got 1 meg down to 1 ohm, and then it also, for capacitance, we've got 1 microfarad to 100 microfarad, which tells you how old the thing is, which would be picofarads, wouldn't it? And I don't know what check means. I don't know what check does. Got check and EXT, which, no idea what EXT does either. I would think maybe it would be for an external standard or something, but the only inputs, the only sockets are the 3 up here. We've got, you know, the C and R. It's not an LCR bridge, it's not that fancy. Also I've got a percent symbol there, which I guess would be for checking a tolerance, and a sensitivity control, which I suppose would be gain for the amplifier and a thing, and one of these cat's eye valves, tubes, whatever they're called, little CRT type thing, you know, the opens up and closes, tuning eye, some old radios have them and stuff. Anyway, still has the original power cord on it, which has, of course, nice, this big fat stuff. It's taken on the texture and appearance of licorice, and So that is no good whatsoever. It's not even any point to testing that with a Mega or anything. It's just chop it off and put a new one on. Nice Bakelite plug, which is in nice condition, and what I think also makes this the most repairable or restorable of the two, at least in terms of easiness, is that I don't think this has actually been plugged in. At least any time recently anyway, because you see the pins on the plug are just dirty, and all the corrosions there, you know, there aren't any scrapes, or, you know, all the dirtiness hasn't been disturbed there. It doesn't look like it's been plugged into a power point, so that's good. And does look like someone might have been in here, because these screws look like they've been molested, but aside from cosmetic issues, it's in pretty good shape. It's the bottom of the thing, just got 4 feet and that's it. So that's that one. This one is certainly the more useful to me of the two. It's also the most problematic of the two, because I'll get to that in a second. This is built from a kit, which is one of the things that makes it problematic. This was from a Radio, TV and Hobbies magazine project, which is a magazine in Australia that eventually became Electronics Australia and are now defunct. So this does all sorts of stuff the other one doesn't do. It's got a power factor, just like series resistance compensation thing, so it lets you do like ESR. Got gain control as the other one has. Also does leakage, which is the most useful feature of it to me anyway. The only thing about the leakage is it doesn't use the cat's eye, which is I've got but I've taken out. Unfortunately it's just one of these very basic neon bulb type ones. So we've got the ability to connect an external standard. Does look like it does inductance. It's got R and L, although it doesn't seem to have any inductance standards in there, so I guess you'd have to use the external standard. Input is here for that one. Does the same ranges there as well for resistance and capacitance, and it's got a value and tolerance selection switch as well as the other one has too. Very nice big wire wound pot in here, which I'll show you in a minute. And let's have a look at why this one is problematic. So here's the top side of the chassis. It's the eye tube in here. I took that out because I wanted to look at the thing, and I didn't want to force it back in because you see the rubber grommet thing there is disgusting, and I didn't want to break it or cause damage. It was very tight trying to get it fit because the rubber's just gone to shit. And that's the tube there. So what is it? It's a 6U5G, which is a very common one. I think it's good. Still got all the getter in there, so all the getter compound on the side. So I think that's, it doesn't, well, I don't think it's gone, you know, I don't think it's gone to air or anything. That doesn't mean it's not good, that it's necessarily good though, but I mean, I'd expect it probably is. Don't know why. I guess I couldn't see that as going bad. Whoops. And it plugs into, this plugs into the back there. It's just got these old dog bone style resistors, which I think are like sort of 1930s-ish, I'd say, for these. So it's obviously, it's been built from junk, sort of junk box or old components that the builder had lying about, because the age of this thing, I mean, this is from the late 1950s, and you know, they had modern sort of plastic, or I don't know if they're plastic or like Bakelite sort of, you know, the carbon compositions, resistors, I don't know, they had those by that stage, so these things were certainly quite old at the time this thing was built, and it's for these, and they're kind of known to be problematic in that they, you know, go bad. But I've checked a fair few of these in this, and they seem alright. That's not one of the issues anyway. There's a rectifier which is a 6X5 GT. Looks to have had the base glued back on at some stage. I do not see any getter in it whatsoever. So I think this one's had the dick, which, yeah, I'm not too bothered about, because I will replace it, most likely just replace it with silicon diodes, and some, obviously you have to put some series resistors in there too if you do that, but because I don't want to spend money on this thing, and I don't want to go and buy bloody valves for this, so anyway. 12AX7, that looks alright, it's getter's still in that, doesn't mean it's good though, as I said before, but with the other ones. But now that's where I started to run into issues there, because there were two versions of this particular bridge. Well, I think they actually had like a number of different ones. So here's the first one. We in view. Good enough. Anyway, this is from the 1954 edition of Radio, TV and Hobbies, and this is for an older version of this unit, which uses a 6X4 and a 6U5G, which match up, but this uses 6 and 8, and I saw that 12AX7 in there, and I thought, what is going on here? Does that belong to this? Has somebody sort of just gone and done their own thing and, you know, built their own thing around this and done it differently? Or has some clown gone and just gone, oh, I'll stick any old valve in there and stuck that in there? But on further inspection, the original, if you look at the front panel is slightly different, and the original doesn't have the gain control, nor does it, and the original doesn't have the tolerance feature. It only seems to do values, so it's obviously an updated version, and I thought it couldn't be that whoever built this thing just decided to, you know, expand upon it and make their own thing, because, you know, it's a professional proper front panel on the thing that's, you know, I'd expect, like, you know, the bloody Dymo labels and crap if they'd done that, wouldn't you? So then I went hunting and I couldn't find an edition that had the later version in it that actually came with this printed out copy there. Whoever had it before in 2005 has written "make work in city," so whatever the hell that means. Maybe they were gonna go back to the city and fix it there. I don't freaking know. I'm not from anywhere remotely near a city, so anyway. So, because that 12AX7 was in there and I could not find an updated circuit diagram or anything, I just started tracing it out internally and sort of come up with, at least partially come up with something. Just The supply section here is a bit what's the name there, but I ran out of space. I've written 6x4 instead of 6x5, but close enough. So it does sort of fit with that 12AX7 with what we've got going on here. We've got the gain control between the two halves of that. It's a dual triode, and 6U5G there, and detector there, which is a germanium diode. So I was like, well, this has got some legitimate circuit there. Interestingly enough, it's got a light bulb there in series between the earth, which goes to the centre of the transformer, as you'd expect. But the light bulb there is interesting, so that's before the earth. So the earth connects to the chassis, and then you've got the centre tap going through a light bulb, then connecting to the chassis. So why they've done that, I don't know. Only thing I can guess is that it's some sort of current limiting or something for when it's first turned on, when the capacitors are charging and, you know, drawing extra current, maybe to be gentle on the valve, on the rectifier valve. I don't know. I honestly don't know, but that's not in the original circuit diagram in the original version. And since then, I have discovered the updated version, which was from September 1958, so about 4 years later. And this has all the new features, new front panel and everything that match up to this. Although this does use that 12AX7, which, as I've traced out, is legitimate, but they have deviated from the circuit diagram, which isn't sort of that unusual, I guess. They've gone and done their own thing with this. So the original uses a 6U8, which is what you call a pentode triode. But otherwise it's all pretty much the same deal. I haven't traced out the range selection and the actual bridge circuitry, but I don't expect that'll be that different, so I'm not all that bothered. But you know, this section with the amplifier and the cat's eye there are somewhat different, but close enough. So some mysteries solved and everything there. Yeah, and it does sort of confirm what I traced out is correct, and I haven't gone and seen things there that weren't there. Anyway, so it is nice to actually have, you know, the theory of operation and everything there, and the correct circuit diagram, despite the differences, which I've already figured out anyway. The only bothersome thing about these old circuit diagrams is the it's annoying with some of these old ones how they draw the heaters in on the valves. You know, like the ones I'm used to seeing later down the track, they just emit the heaters, and sort of it's assumed that, yeah, they're going to be connected down to the 6.3 volts, so it kind of makes it a bit more messy in the circuit diagram, which is kind of annoying, but it doesn't matter to me anyway. The other thing that annoys me is that they haven't put the voltages on this, which kind of mean it's a bit annoying to me, because I can't sort of know exactly what I should be looking for there. I'm assuming it's going to be around 200-ish volts. Looking at the 6x4 data sheet and everything, so that's not that big a deal, but you know, it's nice to have that either way, but I don't have it, so I might just make troubleshooting a bit more difficult for me, because there's someone who's more used to doing valve stuff, wouldn't matter that much to them, because they know what voltages and things to expect. But mostly work on solid state stuff. I know a little bit about valves, but yeah. Anyway, let's have a look in the thing anyway. So, this did have a power cord when I got it, which has been chopped off, came through this grommet here. Little plug on the back, that's for external oscillator to be connected, because this uses the 6.3 volt filament supply for the oscillator for the fucking what you call it anyway. It does have the option for that, which is that was actually not a feature of this. It was in the second version of this. In the first version they had this on the front panel, then they removed it in the second version, but they've built this as added it and put it on the back, which is kind of nice. And there's a power cord, what's left of the power cord, I have chopped it off. As you can see, it is a plastic, this bloody, what you call it, figure of 8 stuff. So that's been added on later on. I don't think terribly recently, because the solder doesn't look very shiny, but that was added on later on down the track, no doubt. And unfortunately, I think it's being plugged in. I'll get to I think that in a minute, and I think some damage has been done. And we got these Spewcon electrolytic capacitors here. Bloody old enough to have a cardboard tube on them, so that tells you something about the age of the things. I think by the 60s they kind of went to the more the plastic sleeve and the metal can and everything. I actually think these actually are a metal can underneath the cardboard. I'm not sure, I've never chopped one apart before. These obviously would have to be replaced. And we've got these dog bone resistors everywhere. But we've also got more modern style carbon composition ones in here too, all over the place, so it's a bit of a mixture. This thing is. So that's why I said before, I think it's being built out of just junk box components. Some odd assortment of capacitors here. I'm not sure what type this is, whether this is like some sort of oil-filled paper thing, or if it's a more modern plastic type. It's a metal shell, and it's got plastic on the ends, like acrylic or something like that. It's a Siemens brand one. I'm not going to bend that around too much, so I'm going to break it just in case it's any good. Honestly, I have no idea, not knowing what type it is. If it's paper type, well, might not be good. Got the regular old wax paper things, designing. I'm not going to touch them, they're yuck. That one I just chopped the end off when I was tracing because I couldn't see under. Those obviously will need to be replaced because I can't check them because my capacitor checker is out of action. Ha ha ha, that was just a funny joke. They've had the dick anyway, don't even bother testing these fucking things. Sometimes they're good, but you know, more often than not they're not good, and it's like, why bother even checking them, you know? And we got this, the germanium diode there, which was not in the original, it's just in the circuit diagram there before. And what else can I point out here? I don't know. There's a bit of a fucking dog's breakfast, as I think I might have said before. What I'd like to do is redo this all very nicely and neatly. So I replace these with plastic type capacitors. There's poly whatever the hell's, poly for, what are they? Polyester, polystyrene, poly anything, doesn't matter. nice big ass wire wound pot. That is very nice. That's on the big center one for the bridge. That is a very nice pot. Very nice pot. I like it. And the other pots, these ones will be okay. They're just standard ones like you'd see nowadays. They're Ducon ones. The other pot for the bridge gain has also got the power switch on it, which is had the dick. That will most likely need to be replaced. So these wafer sort of switches, whatever the hell they're called. So the problems, aside from the capacitors and, you know, the mess and everything in there is, can't see, oh, somewhere on here, so I got, this is obviously, plastic wiring, I can tell, modern plastic wiring, which is a good thing. This is on the filament winding on the transformer, and the green, oh no, hang on. Alright, so we've also got on the transformer, two green ones, and the brown one are those are the, what the HT is derived from, so it's center tap, and the, I think it's a center tap 225 at the center tap, so it'd be a 450 volt transformer with a center tap. So that's what the purple and green wire are. The problem is, I think it's been plugged in, because if I look, I can't remember the exact spots where I saw it, but in some spots it looks like the insulation looks a little melted, which could either be because of the plasticizer leaching out of the thing, and you know, I've seen that a million times, but it also could be that it's been plugged in and gotten hot, which I think is certainly a very high possibility. And that becomes a problem, because if the transformer has gone, you know, if the winding's shorted on a transformer because of, I don't know, you know, a bad capacitor being shorted, or the rectifier, you know, shorting out or anything like that, then that means the thing is no good, because you can't get a new transformer, I guess. You know, a lot of people who are heavily into valve stuff probably have millions of things lying about, but I don't, and you can't just go and buy a transformer of this voltage anymore. They don't really make them anymore, because they're not really needed for much, so yeah, if that's no good, then the whole thing's no good. I can get one second hand on eBay, people want stupid prices, get new old stock ones on eBay again, they're even worse in terms of price, so I'll be shit out of luck there. So I think transforming this thing pretty much is like a make or break thing. Another problem I see is this insulation is fairly dubious looking cloth stuff. I guess I would replace that, either cover it with heat shrink or just replace it with plastic covered wiring, but I think some of this might, you know, I don't know if this is just cotton or if it's asbestos or fuck knows what, so I have to be a little careful of that, but that isn't that big a deal. If it is asbestos, just don't go and bloody snort this stuff, you know. There's a capacitance standards here on the top shell. The number of silver to mica types there, and one of these big metal oil filled things which usually contain PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls, I'm not sure if that's how it's pronounced properly, which cause cancer and all that sort of stuff, which again, it's no problem if it's not leaking, but I think this does look like it might be leaking, so yeah, I'll have to, shouldn't be touching it, I'll go wash my hands in a second, should be wearing gloves, but yeah, that's gotta be removed and disposed of and replaced with something that isn't a fucking carcinogenic biohazard. That's not that big a worry. I'm not too worried about that. See down behind here, the resistance standards down behind here, there are some more modern looking sort of brain fart, or you call it composition resistors, in a more familiar modern style packaging down here that have been used. And I can see these, I think, tubular ceramic capacitors, the what you call it kind, the special kind, the low tolerance ones. There's that light bulb there that I mentioned. There's the neon behind here for the leakage tester. Just one of these series resistor for that. It's very unusual looking color coding, which is pretty old fashioned. I've not seen it before, so yeah. Anyway, so this one is going to be a lot of work to get going, and I can see multiple problems. So right now I'm trying to decide which of these two things I want to work on, the easier one or the more useful one. I don't even really have to restore this back to what it originally was. I could, if the transformer's any good, I can just rebuild this into something else that's more suitable for my needs. I can do whatever I want with it, but I mean, I've got the chassis, I can make it into something else. Whether I feel like making that much effort, I don't know. It'd be easier, well, not necessarily easier, but to restore the thing, given everything's there and everything. So I think first thing I will do with this is to maybe disconnect and remove that transformer off of there and give that a closer inspection and check that out, make sure it's any good. I don't necessarily need to remove it to do that, but you know, that'll tell me if the transformer's good, if I want to proceed with doing anything with this thing. If that's the case, if the transformer's good, then I'll do something with it. Most likely then what I'll do is just I'll take the front panel off of it so I can clean that out and everything, because that is in very good condition still. I think that'll clean up enough that'll look pretty nice. And jeez, I don't know. I was thinking maybe I'll just keep to what's already in there, but remove all the guts and all the resistors and everything and rebuild it neatly and nicely, because that would be certainly possible and I'd enjoy doing that, and I'd be much happier with something that was neat and tidy, because I'm very anal. I'm very obsessive. So there are 2 rows of tag strip here, tag strip there and everything, so it could have just been done really nicely and orderly, but it hasn't. And you know, there's no reason not to. Aside from, you know, if I felt like being lazy, but there's gonna be, you know, even though the resistors in here that I've checked, like I've checked these ones and they're good, even though I've checked them and they're good, there's gonna be some that have gone bad, so, you know, I'm gonna have to go digging deep in all the guts of all of this and trying to shift stuff around and everything, so I might just pay to rebuild the thing. And I don't know if I'd even keep these old dog bone resistors if I even did. Because if I were going to that extent, why not just put modern ones with better tolerances and stuff? But, you know, I don't know. But if they're good, then why not leave them, you know? I can't decide what I'm going to do with it, so yeah, anyway, this is my video where I just talked about this stuff and didn't do anything to it, but, you know. Anyways, thanks for watching, and etc, and see ya.